Jenna and I first crossed paths about 7 years ago, and we hit it off immediately, forming a close bond. We were both raised in the heartland of America, where our strong Christian values put God above everything, even family. Sundays were spent in church, discussing our future and what life had in store for us. I built a solid career as an engineer, with plenty of prospects, while Jenna excelled in her job selling accounting software for a big tech company out of Dallas. Before we got married, my parents, with their considerable wealth, gifted me a 3-bedroom house as a graduation present. They believed in sharing their success while they were still alive, unlike most who wait until after they're gone. Jenna and I tied the knot a little over 5 years ago, and since then, it's been like an ongoing honeymoon. Our sex life was passionate, with us coming together at least 4 times a week. Our friends joked about how we seemed like soulmates, and some of them were downright envious of how close we were. The joy in our lives doubled when we were blessed with twin girls. Raising them became our top priority, creating a loving and nurturing home. Sure, some might call our life boring. Most evenings, we stayed in, cooking at home. We saved Friday and Saturday nights for going out, and Sundays were always reserved for church. We weren't much for socializing or chasing fashion trends, and Jenna's wardrobe was pretty conservative, both at work and at home. Intimacy was something we kept private, never showing too much affection outside the bedroom. Our marriage was built on a foundation of trust and openness, which kept it strong. Jenna was naturally affectionate, always showing her love through gentle touches, kisses, and hugs. I loved that about her. We shared everything with each other, and while raising twins came with its difficulties, I cherished every single moment. Sure, they stressed Jenna out at times, but I was always there to help her through it. We communicated well, tackling problems as they arose, and life with Jenna and the girls was going great. Then, a week before her company's annual exhibition, Jenna got word that she had to attend because some of her coworkers had caught a virus. She tried to get out of it, but there wasn't much she could do. She apologized, telling me she was sorry to leave us for 3 days and that she tried everything to avoid going by talking to her boss. She hated being away from us, she said. I reassured her, saying we'd manage just fine for a few days, but that we'd definitely miss her. I helped her pack, and we left together for the limo her company had arranged to take her to the airport. Our marriage was rock solid, full of trust and honesty. Jenna had never given me any reason to doubt her love or faithfulness. We were always open with each other, working together, especially when it came to raising our kids. On the second night she was gone, I got a message from Mike, a colleague and buddy of mine who was at a cybersecurity event in Dallas. He mentioned he had seen Jenna at the exhibition and asked if I was attending the same conference. I confirmed she was in Dallas but wasn't sure of the exhibition's name. His message left me curious about what he was trying to say. Then, he sent 2 photos and a short video. I froze, a sense of dread washing over me. The first picture showed my wife in a dress I had never seen before, the shortest one I could imagine her wearing. It had a deep neckline, showing off more than I was used to, and she was wearing heels I didn't recognize. Her hair and makeup were flawless. She looked stunning, honestly. At first, I laughed, thinking, I wish Jenna would dress like that once in a while, but the amusement quickly faded. The next picture was of her sitting close to some guy. Her boss, I realized, Tom Foster. I just stared, my mind numb, unable to process what I was seeing. Then came the last image, a close-up of Jenna smiling and looking into Tom's eyes. My heart dropped. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation, but it was hard to believe. The video was next. It was short, but the impact was massive. In it, Jenna kissed Tom, her arms wrapped around his neck while his hand rested on her chest. In that instant, my world collapsed. I couldn't breathe. I felt sick. Tears poured down my face. A message popped up. Are you okay? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to check on her? I responded, yes, I'll call her right now. I dialed Jenna's number, but it went to voicemail after a few rings. I left a message, telling her we missed her and hoped she was having a good evening. Then I messaged Mike to update him. "I just tried to reach her," I said. Mike replied quickly, sounding guilty. "Hank, I'm sorry about all this." She looked at her phone, saw the call, and just put it back in her bag. I've never seen her act or dress like this. "It's all right, Mike. Thanks for telling me. You've been a good friend. I'll handle this. No need to follow her. Just keep me posted if anything else comes up." "Are you gonna be okay, man?" "No, but I'll manage. I know what I need to do. Thanks again." I sat in the dimly lit living room, nursing a strong drink, trying to make sense of everything. How had I missed this? How long has it been going on? Nothing added up. Our relationship had only gotten stronger in the past 6 months. We were closer than ever. None of it made sense. An hour later, Mike sent more photos and videos. One clip showed them dancing, his hand resting on her back. Another captured a kiss on the dance floor. A photo showed them locked in a deep kiss, completely unaware the music had stopped. I knew it was over between Jenna and me, but there was still so much I needed to understand and work through. Using my problem-solving skills from years as an engineer, I spent the next few days carefully plotting my next move. Then, Jenna surprised me with a call around 10 p.m., right after I'd received the last of those gut-wrenching photos. I took a deep breath, determined to keep my emotions in check and not let on that I knew anything about what had been going on. "Hey, sorry I missed your call earlier," she said, her voice soft and sweet. "I was at a dinner meeting and couldn't talk. I miss you so much, babe. I wish I could be there with you, cuddling under the covers, showering you with kisses. I miss you too, Jenna. I love you so much, and I appreciate you calling. The girls are doing great, by the way. I'll send you some photos. They miss you like crazy and can't wait for you to come home. I tried to get out of here tomorrow, but my boss insisted I stay. I hate being away from you guys, but we'll celebrate when I'm back." "You finished for the day?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, I'm about to go to bed. It's been a long day. Love you, babe. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night. I love you more than words can say, Jenna. Good night." After I hung up, the tears came again. Everything I'd said was true. I did love her more than anything in this world. A part of me still hoped this was all just a horrible nightmare. But as the hours ticked past midnight, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. Was she really in her hotel room? What was she doing right now? That question was answered when another message from Mike lit up my phone. It was another photo, this time of Jenna and Tom sitting on a couch in the hotel lobby. They were kissing, his hand sliding up under her skirt, while her arms draped around his neck. They looked like a couple in love, shamelessly showing affection in public. And one last thing, buddy, Mike's message read, "I'm done for the night, but it looks like she's busy. Let me know if you want me to stop. I can put an end to this." I stared at my phone, trying to keep my emotions in check. "It's tough to see, but thanks for the photos. You don't need to follow her anymore. Let her go. It's her mistake, not yours. I appreciate everything you've done. I'm so sorry, man. I'm here if you need me. Thanks. I'll take care of it." I cried myself to sleep that night, knowing that the woman I loved more than anything had betrayed me. Exhaustion eventually took over, and I found some brief comfort in remembering our wedding vows and the joy of raising our daughters. The next morning, Jenna sent me a flurry of affectionate messages, filled with hearts, kisses, and emojis. She told me how much she missed me and the girls, even hinting at a passionate night together when she got home. When she finally returned, she was nothing but sweetness, acting like nothing had happened. I started to wonder if maybe she had some kind of dissociative disorder or was unknowingly medicated. I searched for any kind of explanation, but deep down, I knew I had to face reality and prepare for her return. Our conversation seemed normal, with Jenna telling me how much she longed to be back with us. What hurt the most, though, wasn't just the affair itself, but the lies she told to cover it up. That deceit felt just as devastating as watching her kiss Tom in those photos. After learning of Jenna's betrayal through Mike's messages, I decided to take action. Using my tech skills, I discreetly installed tracking software on her phone, which I'd initially gotten to keep track of lost devices. I made sure to get the latest version and even walked Jenna through setting it up, acting like it was just for convenience. The software had a voice recording feature too, which could capture calls, texts, and emails, automatically uploading everything to the cloud. Let me be clear, I never intended to spy on her before this, but after what I'd seen, my trust was shattered, and I felt like I had no choice. My top priority now was protecting our daughters, and if possible, salvaging our marriage. Caring for the twins kept me busy, which gave me some reprieve from the constant heartache. Whether it was making them breakfast, cleaning up their toys, or playing dolls, those moments were a lifeline amidst the chaos. Let me tell you, taking care of 3-year-old twins is no small feat. It was around 2 p.m., and I had just put the girls down for their nap. After tidying up the house and taking a shower, I sat down at the kitchen table to catch up on things. Jenna had sent me 6 more sweet messages, saying she'd call at 5 p.m. when her workday ended. After reading through them, I logged into the cloud account from my laptop and reviewed everything that had been recorded since I'd set up the spying software. I was speechless as I read through the texts between her and Tom. Here are just a few excerpts. "You were amazing last night, babe. Can't wait for tonight. Thanks, honeybee. I had a great time too. Let's meet in my room after work before dinner. Sounds good, but I need to call my husband first. I'll be ready by 5:15. Does he suspect anything? Of course not. He thinks I'm still in love with him. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months, and he has no clue. Don't worry." My blood boiled. Honeybee. That was my nickname for her, something I called her during our most intimate moments. Now she'd given it to him. How blind had I been? What kind of fool was I? I slammed the laptop shut and hurled a lamp across the room, watching it smash against the wall. Rage that I had been holding in finally exploded. Just as I was about to throw something else, I heard the twins crying from their room. Their cries brought me back to reality, and I quickly calmed down. I rushed into their bedroom, scooping them up in my arms, holding them until they settled down. After cleaning up the broken glass from my outburst, I let the girls play in the living room while I poured myself another strong drink, trying to process everything that had happened. In my mind, our marriage was beyond repair, and it was time to act. I didn't have the emotional energy to listen to more of their conversations or go through any more files, so I let them pile up in the cloud. My plan was to keep up appearances with Jenna, pretending to be the loving husband she thought I was, while quietly figuring out my next steps. I needed to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private investigator, and ensure I could get custody of the girls. Their well-being was the only thing that truly mattered to me. "Hey, sweetheart." Jenna's voice came through the phone. "How are the girls doing?" "They're missing their mommy," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, I miss them so much," she said, her voice filled with affection. "And of course, I miss you too. I can't wait to wrap my arms around you when I get back. I'm going to give you the biggest kiss you've ever had." I played along, just like I'd planned. "I think of you constantly, darling. I can't wait to hold my loving, beautiful wife again." "Soon, my love," she purred. "We'll be together soon." I somehow kept it together, and our call lasted exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she ended the conversation with, "I love you, Hank. I've got to catch the bus back to the hotel, but I'll message you later." "I love you too, sweetheart," I responded, knowing full well it was just another lie rolling effortlessly off her tongue. She had gotten good at this. As I hung up, the hurt from her deception was now turning into something darker: contempt, anger, and a need for revenge. I had loved her with every fiber of my being, and the betrayal cut deeper because of it. but I was determined to expose her lies and make her face the consequences. When Jenna returned from her trip, I greeted her at the airport. She embraced me, just as she had promised, and kissed me like nothing had changed. Either she was a world-class actress, or she still genuinely cared for me. I couldn't figure it out. Was her affair with Tom purely physical, or was there something more? Her behavior continued to confuse me. That evening, she spent a solid hour with the girls, relishing every moment with them. Later that night, she was particularly affectionate in bed, whispering how much she had missed me and the girls, saying how hard it was being away from us. She spoke of wanting nothing more than to be close, to hold me in bed. She was tender, loving, the complete opposite of the woman I'd seen in those photos at the exhibition. I returned her affection, playing the role of the doting husband, savoring every moment because, deep down, I knew it wouldn't last much longer. I hid the painful truth from her, continuing to shower her with love every night. To everyone else, our relationship looked perfect. People even invite us. But it was all just an act. For 3 long months, I watched closely for any signs of infidelity, but I saw nothing out of the ordinary. Jenna came home at her usual time. No unusual phone calls, no strange messages. A part of me even started to hope that maybe it was all a mistake and that things might somehow fix themselves. Then one day, I got a call from Carlos, the private investigator I had hired. We arranged to meet the next day at his office downtown. When I arrived, he greeted me and led me into a conference room. "Good afternoon, Hank. Good to see you again." "Likewise, Mr. Carlos," I replied, bracing myself for what was coming. "I wish I had better news," he said, his expression serious. "Unfortunately, I have some tough information to share. Are you ready to go over our findings?" I sighed and nodded, though I already knew deep down what he was going to say. Carlos placed a thick leather binder in front of me. It was divided into sections: text messages, voice transcripts, video calls, phone records, and photos. "Mr. Carlos, before we dive in," I said, rubbing my temples, "I'm confused. I've been monitoring her closely for the past 3 months, and nothing has seemed off. She's been the perfect wife. None of this makes sense." "Let me walk you through it," Carlos said calmly, "and we'll see if anything becomes clearer." I hadn't been able to bring myself to review the files in the cloud, clinging to the hope that somehow this would all work out. But that hope was shattered as Carlos flipped through the pages. There were over 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, and 75 pages of time-stamped photos showing Jenna and Tom going in and out of hotel rooms together. There were over 82 video calls and 50 pages of phone transcripts. Jenna and Tom have been meeting at a motel at least 4 times a week for the past 3 months. Carlos explained, his voice steady. They spend an average of 2 hours together each time. My stomach turned as I listened. And then Carlos showed me a photo of a second man. "For the past month, it seems she's also been seeing this man," he said. "Do you recognize him?" I stared at the photo, feeling the blood drain from my face. "Is that Charlie Gray? He's the CEO of her company. Are you telling me she's involved with 2 men? One of them being the CEO?" Carlos' expression softened. "I'm afraid so. Based on the evidence from the text messages, phone calls, and videos, it's clear she's been in a physical relationship with both of them." He paused before continuing. "There's a video labeled Balcony. It shows them engaging in an intimate moment on the balcony, with Charlie behind her as she leans over the railing. They didn't realize they were being recorded. The footage is in high definition. We have clear close-ups of their faces, and the audio was recorded too." Carlos played the video on a massive 80-inch screen. My heart shattered into a million pieces as I watched the woman I once adored lean over the railing, with her CEO standing behind her. I felt like I was going to be sick. I had to step out of the room for a few minutes to regain my composure before I could face more of it. When I returned to the conference room, I urged Carlos to continue. I needed to know everything about what my wife had been up to. The video labeled Balcony 2 showed your wife with both Charlie and Tom at the same time, Carlos said, his tone somber. I'm sorry to have to show you all of this, but since they were in public, these recordings could be useful if you decide to move forward with your divorce and custody case. I sat there, my mouth hanging open, still struggling to comprehend how this could be Jenna. I prayed desperately that there had been some mistake. Hank, Carlos continued, we've looked into both Tom Foster and Charlie Gray. Tom has been married for 10 years and has 4 young kids. Charlie has been married for 25 years with 3 grown children. The text messages between your wife and Tom reveal that Tom introduced Charlie into their activities after Jenna expressed interest in, well, a love triangle. It's tough to read, but I'll leave it with you to review on your own time. Here's the folder and a USB drive with everything. Your lawyer will likely need them both. When I met with my lawyer, she was shocked at the sheer volume of evidence we'd gathered. She couldn't believe that Jenna had managed to hide her infidelity so well at home. Jenna kept playing the role of the devoted wife and mother, acting like everything was perfectly normal. My lawyer laid out the various legal options based on the evidence I'd provided, but she needed time to review everything fully. We scheduled another appointment for the following week, and I instructed her to start filing the divorce papers as soon as possible. As I left the lawyer's office, I felt hollow inside. I knew it was over long before these meetings, but watching those videos had extinguished any last hope of reconciliation. I couldn't shake the question, who was this woman I thought I knew? Later that evening, after putting the girls to bed, Jenna and I sat down to watch a movie I found on Netflix called Unfaithful. I'd heard it was good, so I casually suggested we give it a shot. Knowing the film's theme, I had prepared myself for a conversation I needed to have. During the movie, I nonchalantly mentioned a female intern at my office who had been flirting with me for months. Can you imagine me with another woman? I chuckled, trying to keep things light. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Really? Who? If I catch you even thinking about being with her, I'm gone. You're mine, and no one else's, she said, dead serious. It was mind-blowing how she could be so indignant about the idea, given her own actions. It was driving me mad. Hank, why didn't you tell me about her sooner? What's her name? She pressed. Relax, Jenna, I said, forcing a smile. She's just a young, flirty intern. I've completely ignored her. What about you? You're the most beautiful woman in your office. No one flirts with you. Of course not, she snapped. They all know I'm married, and I'd never cheat on you. So, in all the years we've been together, you've never once entertained the idea of being with someone else. Not even a friendly kiss. Have you ever cheated on me? Her anger flared. Are you serious right now? How could you ask me that? I constantly tell you how much I love you. I've always been faithful to you. I can't believe you'd even think that. I quickly apologized, agreeing with her to keep the peace, and we resumed watching the movie. I chuckled to myself. She could have been an actress with how convincing she was. No wonder she was so good at her job. Once the tension died down, she leaned against my shoulder, and I knew it was time. I picked up my phone, opened the messaging app, and pulled up a photo of Jenna and Tom kissing on the dance floor, his hand resting on her behind. What are you doing, Hank? Why aren't you watching the movie? Because what I'm looking at is a bit more real, I replied calmly. What do you mean? She asked, her voice growing uneasy. I muted the movie and turned my phone screen toward her. The image of her and Tom locked in a passionate kiss filled the room. She froze, her mouth moving as if to explain, but no words came out. That's quite the kiss you're giving, Tom, I said, my tone sharp. Where did you get that? She finally managed to ask. You were at dinner with your pal Tom Foster, right? My friend Mike spotted you too and texted me to confirm if it was really you. Turns out it was. And he sent me this. I've got to say, you looked stunning in that dress. I've never seen you wear something so revealing. Trying to impress your boyfriend, maybe. Go ahead, I'm all ears. What's your explanation? She fumbled for words, her confidence wavering. It was just one dance, Hank. He was drunk, and after the song ended, he grabbed me and kissed me. What you don't see is that I slapped him right after and caused a scene. I'd never let that happen. I bought that dress for a business dinner and didn't realize how revealing it was until now. I'm so sorry. I could see she was trying to salvage the situation, but I wasn't convinced. I get it, things happen. Was that the only incident? Yes, baby, and it won't happen again, she said, her voice shaky. I played along, letting her believe I was buying into her excuses. We resumed watching the movie, but I could tell Jenna was on edge. After a few minutes, I reached for my phone again, this time playing a video of her and Tom sitting on a couch, his hand sliding under her skirt. She shot me a panicked look. What are you watching now? Remember that night you called me, saying you'd had a long day and were heading to bed? Yes, she whispered. Well, Mike sent me another message about 2 hours after that. This time, it was a video. Want to see? I asked, hitting play. The video showed her and Tom kissing on the couch, his hands roaming where they shouldn't have been. I'm eager to hear a new explanation, I said, smiling. By now, my anger had turned into something colder, contempt and a strange sense of amusement at her desperation. Jenna's voice trembled. Hank, I'm so sorry. After we hung up, Tom called me to discuss a client issue we have for the next morning. He asked me to meet him in the lobby to go over some details. I had a few drinks and got a little tipsy. You know how I am when I've had too much. I know the video looks bad, but nothing else happened. I told him to stop, reminded him that I was married. And then I went to my room. I raised an eyebrow. That's part of the problem, honeybee, I said, watching her flinch at the nickname. I've always believed you, but in the last 20 minutes, you've lied to me twice. Can you understand how I feel? Here I am, sitting at home, and the woman I love is off kissing her boss in some bar, wearing the most revealing dress I've ever seen her in. How do you think I feel? Hank, I love you, she sobbed. That was 3 months ago. Why didn't you confront me earlier? Honestly, I said, staring her down. I wanted to see if you'd come clean on your own. I hoped you'd be as honest and transparent as we've always been with each other. But now I see where we stand. So tell me, are there any other lies? Do you have feelings for him? Are you thinking about leaving me? I was toying with her now, enjoying the way she squirmed under the weight of her own deceit. She started crying harder, swearing up and down that she loved me and only me. Jenna, please don't keep telling me how much you love me. I know you do, and I still love you, but that doesn't change the reality of these photos. I need answers. Are there any more lies? She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Hank, please believe me, nothing more than a kiss happened. I told him to stop every time. I don't know what Mike told you, but you have to trust me. I sighed, pretending to consider her words. All right, baby, I trust you. But here's what I don't get. Why did you dress like that for him? You've never worn something like that for me. Was it for him? And do you have feelings for him? Please, I need the truth. Her tears started up again. No, Hank, I only love you. I never want to lose you. I don't know why I dressed that way. Maybe it's because the other women were wearing similar outfits, and I wanted to fit in. I felt insecure. But nothing happened. I swear. I gave her a long look, my mind already set. I understand that, but why didn't you tell me about Tom and your interactions? If nothing happened, why hide it? I didn't want to upset you, she whispered. He's my boss, and I didn't want to risk my job. If anything had actually happened, I would have told you right away. You believe me, don't you? I comforted Jenna with a kiss, gently holding her as she cried. That moment marked the beginning of my month-long plan to get my revenge. That night, we made love, and I found myself detached, imagining her as if I were one of her lovers. I wasn't about to deny myself her body, nor would I caution her about anything unusual. She played her role perfectly, but at that point, I didn't care. She was more passionate than ever, trying to convince me that I was the only one in her heart. This routine continued for the next few weeks. Every night, her performance was flawless, and I simply sat back and enjoyed the show. The next morning, I checked the cloud for any new messages with Tom. As expected, she didn't disappoint. Oh my God, someone took photos of us at the exhibition and sent them to Hank. His friend saw me at the restaurant without Hank. I'm not sure if he knows yet, but the video showed us kissing. Dan, now that you mention it, I remember a guy with a phone across from us. I didn't think much of it at the time. How did Hank react? Nothing. I convinced him it was no big deal. He has no idea I spent the night in your room. I told him it was just because I had a few drinks and made amends. He's always been easy to sway. A few kisses and some good sex, and he forgets everything. Be careful, babe. We'll meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. as usual. Can't wait. Love you, honeybee. Love you too. That was the last message. I sat there for a moment, taking it all in. Sure, I felt like the world's biggest fool, but there's a strange satisfaction in plotting your revenge. So I continued, carefully and deliberately. Meanwhile, I enjoyed watching Jenna's little charades, waiting to see how many more lies she could tell. My first priority was to secure my financial affairs. I transferred funds, closed accounts, and the like. I kept my main Visa card active but reduced the credit limit to $2,500, just enough to prevent any serious damage. Jenna remained completely oblivious to my growing rage, never suspecting the changes I was making. I confirmed with my lawyer that since I owned the house before we were married, I wouldn't be forced to leave once the papers were served. Then I composed the infamous email. I attached videos, texts, and photos, and planned to send them to all of Jenna's contacts, her friends, family, and coworkers. I also created duplicate binders to be sent to Mrs. Foster and Mrs. Gray, so they could share in the misery. These would be distributed at the same time the legal notifications were delivered. My lawyer was also preparing to file public civil lawsuits against both Tom, her boss, and Charlie, the CEO. Given the company's prominence on the East Coast, my lawyer was eager to drag the CEO into the mess. We were planning to propose a settlement before the full extent of their actions was revealed. I also worked with a child services attorney to ensure I get full custody of the girls, gathering all the necessary documentation. For weeks, everything seemed normal. Jenna and I spent time with the kids, acted like the perfect couple, and kept up appearances. Our conversations avoided the elephant in the room, and I'm sure my silence drove her crazy. The uncertainty of what I was thinking must have been torture. To mess with her, I dropped a few probing questions here and there. So, Jenna, I asked casually one evening, has your boss done anything about what happened at the exhibition? Is there anything you need to tell me? I knew everything from her conversations with Tom, but it was entertaining to watch her lie. I could even predict when she was about to do it. She kept her composure, though, telling me that nothing had happened and that their interactions were strictly professional. We've been so busy, we hardly talk anymore, she said, her voice steady. I smiled to myself, still amazed at how easily she could lie to me. The mother of my children, the woman I once loved. That night, I decided to release the last of my anger. I confronted her, not with words, but by taking full advantage of her in bed. Oh my God, Hank, she gasped, breathless. What's gotten into you? You're being so wild tonight. I've never seen you like this, but I enjoyed it. I just smiled to myself, knowing this would be our last encounter before everything blew up the next day. I was going to take everything I could from my soon-to-be ex-wife. The next afternoon, the sheriff walked into the office of Omnitech Industries and asked to see Mr. Gray. Moments later, Sheriff Clark handed Charlie an envelope. Mr. Gray, you've been served. Charlie stood alone in his office, clutching the envelope, fear overtaking him as he read the complaint over and over again. He quickly summoned Tom to his office. By that time, Tom had also been served. What the hell? How did this happen? Tom demanded as he stormed into Charlie's office. If my wife finds out about this, I'm done, Charlie growled. This is on you. You promised me this woman would never leave us exposed like this. Fix this, Tom, or I'll ruin you and your family. Understand? Charlie was not a man to be crossed. He had clawed his way to the top of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and had no intention of backing down. Tom hurried out of the office, his mind racing. He needed to talk to Jenna immediately. As he made his way down the hall toward her office, he saw the sheriff leaving from the same direction. Bursting through her door, he found Jenna sitting at her desk, tears streaming down her face. What happened? She stammered, her voice choked with emotion. How did he find out? I don't know, but I've been served with divorce papers, Tom replied. And Gray and I are both facing civil lawsuits for our actions. There must be more evidence than just those 2 photos you showed me. You need to convince Hank to drop this, or Gray will destroy us. Oh my God, Tom. This is terrible, Jenna sobbed. I don't want to lose Hank. I have to find a way to fix this. Do whatever it takes, Tom urged. Go home. Talk to him. Make him see reason. Call me tonight if you can. Keep me updated. Trembling, Jenna packed up her things and drove home. The man she loved, the father of her children, was divorcing her. She didn't want it to end like this. She genuinely loved Hank, but she couldn't resist the excitement of the affair. Now she needed to make him understand that she couldn't lose him over this. When she arrived at the house, it was empty. The girls were at Hank's sister's place, as they were every afternoon while we both worked. Jenna called Hank's sister and asked if she could keep the girls overnight. Without hesitation, she agreed. Jenna showered, did her hair and makeup, and waited anxiously for Hank to come home. At 6 p.m., she heard the garage door open. Her heart pounded as she anticipated the confrontation that was about to unfold. Jenna, I said as I walked in, didn't expect to see you tonight. I figured you'd be with Tom. Oh wait, he's married with kids. This could get awkward. Hank, please, she said, taking my hand and pulling me to sit beside her on the couch. Despite everything, she looked calm, almost more pleasant than usual. She'd been preparing for this. I played along. Hank, as you already know, I was served today. But I don't want a divorce. I love you, and I need you. I won't sign those papers. Tom means nothing to me. Yes, we had sex, but it wasn't love. I just needed it. And I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again, I promise. Oh, you promise? Well, in that case, I guess I can trust you now, I said with a sarcastic smile. Let's forget everything and go back to normal. Jenna embraced me, planting a kiss on my lips. Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'm so grateful you understand and forgive me. I won't lie to you again, I swear. I pulled away, gently pushing her aside. You're delusional, Jenna. I can't trust you anymore. After all the lies, the deceit, there's nothing left. I gave you so many chances, but you kept lying, destroying our lives. Do you even realize what you're doing to our girls? I can't look the other way. But you can't seem to understand why I'm going after Tom and Charlie. Her eyes widened in shock. Well, those partners of yours run a multi-billion-dollar company, I continued. When I leave, I'll need money to take care of the girls. Since they're partly responsible for destroying our marriage and my life, I'll destroy them too. I'm going to ruin their families, hit them where it hurts the most, financially, and use them like they used you. Jenna had never seen me like this, angry, focused, unshakable. She realized she had lost all control, both over the situation and over me. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she knelt in front of me, clutching my legs and begging for forgiveness. A flicker of sympathy passed through me, but my anger was stronger. I gently lifted her up onto the sofa and spoke to her in a calm, almost patronizing tone. Here's the plan, Jenna. Pack your things and stay at your mom's for a few nights. Get yourself a lawyer. We'll arrange a meeting to talk things over. In the meantime, A little advice. Stay far away from Charlie and Tom. Things are about to get messy. Later that night, Jenna went to her mom's house, telling her there had been a disagreement and she needed to stay for a while. At 11 p.m., she called Tom, looping Charlie into a three-way call. "Charlie, are you here?" she asked. "Yes, I'm here," Charlie replied. "Jenna, what happened? Did you manage to convince him to drop the lawsuits and the divorce?" Charlie demanded. "No," Jenna sobbed. "He kicked me out and warned me that things were about to get ugly." Charlie's voice exploded through the phone. "Jesus Christ, Tom. What have you done? You're an idiot. If my wife finds out about this, I'm finished. You swore this woman would never turn on us. Fix this, or I swear I'll ruin you and your family." "Understand. I don't know what to do," Jenna cried. "Hank's out of control. He won't answer my calls or texts." Charlie cut her off. "Tom, you need to set up a meeting with Hank. Make sure it's somewhere loud and public. Jenna, you'll be there too. We'll try to make him back off. If he refuses, Tom and I will explain how much worse it'll be for him and his family if he doesn't drop the lawsuits. I've got people who handle things like this, and I won't hesitate to use them." Tom, shaken, replied, "Yes, Mr. Gray, I understand. Jenna, you know what you have to do." "Yes, Mr. Gray." "Good. Make it happen tomorrow. We're running out of time." Jenna and Tom hung up, both filled with dread. That night, as I listened to the call, I wasn't surprised by their desperation. I was already planning my next move. The next morning, Tom called, asking to meet and settle things. We agreed to meet at 6 p.m. in a courtyard. By 4 p.m., I was at my private investigator's office, preparing. We had cutting-edge technology, including noise-canceling mix, ready to capture clear sound even in the noisy environment of the bar. The PI was also there to film the meeting for evidence. I arrived at 6:15, intentionally keeping them waiting. When I walked up to the group, I saw Jenna with her two accomplices. "Jenna, I'm surprised to see you here with your partners. But I guess we all know where your loyalties lie. So, gentlemen, what brings us here?" Charlie spoke up first. "Hank, I'm Charlie Gray. I requested this meeting." "Gray," I said, looking him over. "You look different in person. These videos don't really do you justice. Can't say it's a pleasure to meet you." Charlie tried to stay composed. "I understand your anger, Hank. If I were in your shoes, I don't know how I'd react. But we need to discuss something important." "Go ahead," I said, playing along. "We want you to drop the lawsuits against me, Tom, and the company." I chuckled. "That's it. Oh, sorry, no can do. Someone has to pay for taking away the most important thing in my life." I glanced at Jenna, the only woman I've ever loved, the mother of my kids. Jenna began to cry, realizing the gravity of the situation. "What will it take for you to end this and take Jenna back?" "Name your price," Charlie said, trying to sound reasonable. I leaned forward, my tone ice cold. "First, no amount of money could make me take her back. She betrayed my trust, my love, and ruined our children's lives. But I'll drop the lawsuits under two conditions. 1, I want $5 million in compensation. 2, I want to meet both your wives, and Jenna has to confess everything to them." Charlie's face twisted in anger. "Go to hell, Hank. I'll give you $100,000, and you'll sign an agreement to keep this quiet forever." I smiled, unbothered. "That's not going to cut it. But I'll drop it to $4 million on one condition. Your families must know the truth." Charlie's rage flared. "You're sealing your fate. Think it over, Hank. Drop the lawsuits and take Jenna back. It was just a fling. We can resolve this." I pulled out my phone and sent 2 prearranged text messages. Then I accessed my email and hit send on the messages containing all the videos, photos, and texts. They were now in the inboxes of Jenna's friends, family, and coworkers. Meanwhile, 2 couriers I'd stationed outside Charlie and Tom's homes were delivering packages to their wives. filled with binders of evidence. Charlie's phone rang. Then Tom's. Their wives were calling. Charlie shot me a look of pure fury. "What the hell, Hank? I'm talking to you. Are you dropping the lawsuits?" I leaned back, keeping my voice calm. "My answer to you, Tom, and Jenna is this. Go to hell." Just then, both Charlie and Tom's phones rang again. Their faces turned pale as they realized the magnitude of what had just happened. Jenna looked at me, confused. "What's going on, Hank?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Check your email," I said. "I think you'll understand soon enough." Charlie, red-faced and seething, pointed at me. "You're dead, Hank. I'll slit your throat and watch you bleed out like a dog." With that, he stormed out of the bar. Tom, on the verge of tears, turned to me. "Why? Why would you do this to me?" I raised an eyebrow. "Seriously, you've been using my wife every day for months, ruining my marriage, and you're surprised someone would hit back. Everything I sent to your wife was for her, so she could know what kind of man you are. You destroyed countless lives, Tom." Just then, Jenna's phone began to ring. Her sister, her brother, her aunt, they were all calling, having seen the emails. Jenna's eyes filled with horror as she opened her inbox and saw what I had sent. Her jaw dropped as she looked at me in disbelief. "How could you do this to me?" she whispered. "You made it too easy, darling," I replied coolly. "I still love you, Jenna, but it's over. After I hand this recording to the authorities and social services, my lawyer's confident I'll get full custody of the girls. You'll be lucky to avoid jail time. I'm sorry, but you need to face the consequences." Omnitech settled the lawsuit by paying me $2 million. Charlie Gray was fired as CEO and left with nothing after breaching the morals clause in his contract. He lost more than $10 million in stock options and forfeited his severance package. He was also sentenced to 5 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. His wife divorced him while he was incarcerated, leaving him broke and homeless. Tom didn't fare much better. His wife divorced him, taking half of everything in alimony. He lost his job and was fined $1 million in a civil trial. He ended up working as a day laborer, bankrupt and destitute. As for Jenna, she received a 5-year prison sentence, though I helped get it reduced to 1 year of house arrest and 4 years of probation. She lost custody of the kids, and I now have full custody. She spiraled into depression and lives in her mother's basement, cut off from her family. She hasn't seen the girls since her self-destructive spiral began. While revenge brought some satisfaction, it hasn't healed all my wounds. I still have love for Jenna, but the betrayal lingers. Taking care of my daughters keeps me going, but it will be years before I can open my heart to love and trust again. It's amazing how a few small actions can destroy so many lives. Caution is advised.